feel like I'm missing a piece. Oh, there it is. Never mind. Sorry, I'm like so invested.
That's the show
in this.
slogan.
I'm missing a piece.
I think every guest has said that at some point in the episode. Welcome to Building Friendships. I am your host, John Sosis, and I am so excited for today's guest. The credits are going to keep expanding. We're going to talk about it, but she's a writer, she's a producer. She has a podcast called Hard Knocks, and she has a new show on Hulu streaming right now. The finale streaming right now as well, called The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. The one and only Amanda Knox.
Hello.
What's up?
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. I haven't been able to play with Legos since before my kids because these are basically poison for them. Like, you have to hide them away or they will swallow them. So I'm so excited.
I was honestly going to ask you when the last time you did Lego was because you have kids.
Yeah,
Most people are like, yeah, I hate Lego because I do it with my kids and they leave it everywhere and I step on it.
Oh no, I'm excited for when my kids don't try to eat it and then we can play it together.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. I just finished watching this series and can you tell the audience what happened to you I don't know how brief you can be.
In the briefest of terms? Yeah. Okay, so the briefest of terms is I went to go study abroad in Italy and I shared a house with 3 other young women. And one day I came home and discovered that one of my roommates had been murdered. And I called the police, and the police swiftly decided that I was their prime suspect and put me in prison. And I spent 4 years in prison until I was released, but then I was retried and reconvicted, and I was facing extradition. And then it wasn't until like 8 years into this whole ordeal that I was finally definitively acquitted and no longer, accused of a murder that I didn't commit. But yeah, so that's the quickest and I could possibly describe that.
That was pretty much, that's it. And so those of you who thought the end of TikTok was terrifying, like, calm down. So I told a few people that you were going to be my guest this week, and I got a bunch of different responses. So
I imagine so.
The people in their 20s, no clue who you were.
Ah, interesting.
No clue who you were.
Yeah, okay, 20, it was 18 years ago.
For reference, we're the same age. You and I are the same age.
Okay, great.
So the people in the 20s, no clue who you are. People in the late 20s, early 30s heard the name, oh wait, where do I know that name from? And for those 2 groups, I said you were a writer-producer, and they accepted it and moved on.
Yeah, no question.
So the people our age had a bunch of different reactions. Some completely knew the end of the case and knew your story and knew that you had been exonerated and you're free to go. And a lot of people just stopped paying attention the second you were convicted. And it's like,
right.
Is she still in jail? I'm like, no, she's been out for quite a while. So it's actually my nightmare. It's what your story, because we're the same age, your story and the movie Broke Down Palace are the reason I don't leave the country. Like, I've never left the country.
Oh no, I'm sad about that.
No, it's not your fault. It's my brain. It's like, and I'm.
It can happen here too, right?
It can very, very likely right now. But my question to you is, and watching this series, I saw the story really doesn't end in the show until 2022. So it really didn't end 10 years ago. 2022, you were still being eaten up by certain aspects of it. At what point, if possible, do you think you'll be able to put this behind you? Is that something that's going to never happen because you're an activist and you're always you're fighting to prevent this from happening to other people? Because I looked at your Instagram and your first credit there is exoneree. And I was like, oh, this is interesting that there are people that have completely forgot about this. Like, the generation after us didn't even know, don't know your name.
Convenient, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's an interesting fact about trauma, but also really public traumas. Everyone else gets to move on with their life, but I'm still living with the consequences of what was said about me and the portrayal of me. A lot of people ask me about moving on, which is interesting because it's a legit question. Like, even friends of mine have this talking about what I went through is a deeply triggering and traumatic thing. It's
Yeah.
not an easy thing for me to do. And some of my, well-meaning friends have said, like, why don't you just, move on? And I think that is a misapprehension of like what trauma is like. I think that trauma is something that you carry with you forever, especially a trauma that you experienced when you were so young. Like, this was in a very formative part of my life, and so it in a way changed the way that I even experience the world from here on out. I'm sensitive to things that I wouldn't have otherwise been sensitive to. I'm aware of things that I wouldn't have otherwise been aware of. But beyond that, I think that there's so many ways to answer your question. One of those is that, like, I'm still fighting this. Like, I'm not on trial for murder, but I was wrongly accused of slander, and I remain wrongly convicted of slander. And so I'm still fighting that charge to this day. To your point, like, a lot of people, I just came into their public, or like into public awareness under the context of being accused of a heinous crime. And a lot of people didn't really follow up on that for good reason. They have lives, and I wasn't following these kinds of things before it started to happen to me. And so it's a lot to ask everyone to be fully informed about what the facts of the case are or not. But what that means for me is that as I engage with the world, I am engaging with a perception of me, and that perception of me as it exists in any individual person's mind depends upon what they've consciously or unconsciously absorbed about my story. And so I don't get to just be a person who gets to walk into a room and introduce myself. I'm typically having to engage with somebody's idea of me. When I'm encountering the world, it impacts what I'm capable of doing and accomplishing in my life. So there's that aspect of it. And then, I'm an activist now, and I've learned a lot from what I went through. I've learned that it happens here in the United States with shocking frequency, and I've learned that there are ways to mitigate the risk of this happening that are common sense, changes that we could make to the system that are not being implemented. And in large part, they're not being implemented because people don't understand how wrongful convictions happen. They find it really hard to empathize with. And one of the things that this series that I've worked on, like, one of the huge goals of it was just to humanize the wrongful conviction experience. And from all the different levels of it. Like, there are those who are like diehard, criminal justice reform people. And sometimes the way that these kinds of stories are told is it's like, oh, there's just a bad prosecutor, right? Like, there's a bad guy. Or even if you see it depicted in Hollywood, it's like there's some corrupt cop who's doing the thing, which isn't to say that there aren't corrupt cops doing the bad thing. But the vast majority of the time that these things are happening, it's because people think they're doing the right thing. And that's what's really scary. And like, one of the things that we tried to depict in this show is how all of the people involved in this like perfect storm of horribleness were people who believed in what they were doing and what the consequences of that were. So like, our creator and showrunner, KJ Steinberg, who did incredible research about this case, we really connected early on my like really strong feeling that I didn't want to do the thing that was done to me, which was just villainize people and turn this story into a really black and white narrative, and instead to really try to put ourselves in the shoes of everyone involved, including my prosecutor, who would love this Sherlock Holmes set, I'm sure.
You're crushing it, by the way, unrelated.
Am I?
Yeah, oh my God, you're breezing through it.
I mean, it's a cobblestone.
Yeah. Now, the reason that I asked you the question about getting over it, I was sick in my 20s. I had a surgery. The sick part of my body, my large intestine, was completely removed.
Oh my
So I wasn't
God.
sick anymore. But people were like, "Oh, great, you're fine now."
Yeah.
And
Sure.
it's hard to communicate what you just communicated, which is like, yeah, I'm fine now, but I still think that I'm going to be sick. So like, when people ask me to come out and hang, a lot of people were like, "But you're not sick anymore." And I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm still not used to not being sick." So I'm not comfortable going out just yet. So
Yeah.
that's why I asked that question, because I knew you'd be able to articulate it better than I can. When people when I talk about it, I don't even bring up that part, because it's just, no matter the level of trauma, and you kind of said it, like everybody has their own trauma, and like there's no reason to apologize to you for comparing one person's trauma to another. So episode 8, I think, is where you really started to humanize what you were just talking about with the prosecutor, and you really reflected on like.
Oh, I hope before then.
Well, I think episode 8 is where it was blatantly stated when when your character's talking to your mom character.
Yeah.
You really just come out and say it like, we were all dealing in our own truth at the time, and your mom didn't handle it well. Your mom kind of wanted blood, or at least to go there and get the apology.
Yeah, I think my mom wanted what a lot of people want for me, which is that for the people who harmed me to admit that they were wrong and do the right thing. And it's not that I didn't want that either. Like that's, I think, one of the difficult truths about, again, painful experiences is like one of the things that you just really, really want is just acknowledgement that it happened, to not be treated like a crazy person who like doesn't deserve an apology from the person who hurt you.
Yeah.
And like that's one of the things that I was really hoping that people would come away from the series seeing is like the validity of both my mom's perspective and my perspective. Like they were in conflict, but like you could put yourself in either of our shoes and go, oh wait, I get where she's coming from. And to my mom's credit, like she's one of the most important relationships in this whole series, and she really did not want me to go back to Italy. She didn't understand my need to do so, and she was afraid for me, justifiably so.
Yeah.
And yet she went back with me anyway.
I had read at some point in the news that you went back to Italy, but then watching it and like seeing you in the back of the car and I was like, this is the work of an insane person. Like,
she has Stockholm syndrome.
Yeah. That's what honestly, I was like, yeah.
I mean, when I went back to Italy the first time, I certainly was worried, like, and people might say it was an irrational fear, but like, I remember when I told my family that I was going back, my uncle really funnily said, well, just behave yourself and you'll be fine. And I was like, for the record, I was behaving myself the entire time, and I didn't do anything wrong, and they still threw me in prison. So that doesn't make me feel better. And the rest of my family, of course, like my uncle sort of joked about that, but my family thought it was very, very serious. Like the whole system was very much against me in Italy, and so they would find some excuse to find fault in me because that's what they've done. Like, and to this day, again, that's what they've done. They've convicted me of a lesser crime so they don't have to admit fault to what they really did. And so it's a completely rational fear. That said, the things that like impact me today, it's less about it's less about what could, like, a legal thing that could happen to me, and it's more like you see things in real life that are similar, like the attitudes. Like I've been through a very extreme experience, but like ultimately it's a very human one. Oh, look. I have a little situation.
Honestly, you might be the best builder we've had on the show.
Really?
We'll see where we're at the end.
So it's a human experience that like ultimately is actually really relatable. Like people get invested in ideas about themselves and about other people and are really judgmental, and you don't need to be in a prison scenario or a legal scenario for that to be the case. Like one of the things that I hope people take away from this series is a recognition that like the attitudes that people had toward me are attitudes that we have towards each other all the time.
Yeah. And
we are constantly finding fault in each other instead of trying to like understand each other or build bridges. And I hope that like one of the messages of the series that people take away is that it is possible to build bridges where you might otherwise think it's impossible.
Yeah.
because, you know, I did go back to Italy and I did confront my prosecutor, and everyone told me that I would never be able to do that. And if I did, he would never, you know, admit to certain things. And while he didn't give me everything that I hoped, he didn't say everything I hoped he might say, he certainly said some very, very interesting and revealing things that show that he is a human being in evolution, just like every single one of us.
Were you very open about that conversation, or were there things you left out in the show? Because it seems like it was honest to what happened, but I imagine throughout the entire show there were things said and done that you kept out for whatever reason.
Yeah, I mean, we had to take, you know, a long, like, this is a really long ordeal, so of course we didn't show every single thing that humanly happened in the trial. We didn't show every witness, you know, like there were tons and tons of things that we couldn't show. Partly for, like, just the creative purpose of the vision. We needed to keep people on track and be able to follow the story. But then the other part, there were, like, you know, legal issues. You know, like, there's certain things that my prosecutor has said to me in private that I can't reveal because it's private correspondence, and because I told him I wouldn't. So, like, there are things that absolutely things that he has told me that I did not reveal in the show. But the things that I did reveal, I think, are deeply important and get across that sense of, like, what good can be gained and what kind of understanding can happen, even in spite of, like, everything working against you. Like, this person having every reason to just blow you off and not give you what you deserve, and being open, like, feeling what it feels like to be open to what the world can give you, but more importantly, to be open to what you can accomplish. Like, I think something that the victim mentality can give you is this sense that, like, for you to be okay, everyone else needs to figure out their shit.
Yeah.
and then, only then can you be okay, and that's just not true. Like, you don't need anybody else to figure themselves out for you to be okay, and for you to do the things that define you and that are meaningful to you. Like, I had to ask myself, like, what can I do in this situation that rendered me utterly helpless? What can I actually do? And I went and did it.
Yeah, it's control the controllable. What can you control? And kind of have to let everything else play itself out. This is something I thought about, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, because it's a little bit egocentric as an American to think this way.
Okay.
I immediately thought, and you have to keep in mind when this happened to you, it was a decade prior that the O.J. Simpson case happened. Did you ever get the sense that the speed in which they immediately said, oh, it's Amanda, she 100% did it, was because they wanted to show, hey, America, we know how to catch a killer, when I mean, people have their feelings about OJ, but legally he was acquitted. Did you ever get the sense that, hey, this is just them trying to one-up America in finding a killer and doing it in, like, did you ever get that feeling?
So early on, and, you know, the courts admit this, like, it's part of the final, you know, ruling in the case, is they admit that the fact that there was international media that immediately descended upon this small town, that had a huge effect on how the police were motivated to conduct their investigation. Like, they felt immediate pressure to capture somebody and announce, like, case closed, which is what they ultimately did. They arrested me and my boyfriend and my boss within, you know, a few days of even discovering the crime, before they had any forensic evidence, any, you know, DNA, any fingerprints analyzed, and announced to the world case closed. And then when the DNA came back pointing to a completely different person, they didn't admit that they were wrong and that they had made a mistake, because, again, the international media it was a lot, and there was, and, you know, Italy, a lot of their entire industry, like, their whole industry is, like, bringing people to their country, which is a beautiful country, and that doesn't really work if everyone's scared to go there because, you know, innocent young women get murdered there.
Yeah.
So, like, there was a big PR problem for the entire country of Italy, but beyond that, I think that it became a nationalistic thing during the trial, and like all of these international news outlets were like tuning in, and the first people to sort of raise an alarm that there might that the case wasn't making any sense were the American media. They were the ones who were like, where is all this evidence that we were promised? And it didn't pan out. Even during the first trial, they were like, where's all this like irrefutable evidence that Amanda did this? It didn't show up. And that ended up like getting pushback from the British press and the Italian press. And so what you saw end up happening in trial is, my prosecutor openly saying, you need to find this girl guilty so we can prove to the Americans that they can't push us around and tell us how to do our jobs.
Yeah, that's the kind of vibe I got when I was here watching it live happen, and it felt like there was a lot of media press, but it also gave me this feeling of like, oh, they're trying to catch a person because we, quote unquote, let OJ go, and like they're trying to take it out and show everybody that they have a great system. And I'm like, nothing added up on our side when we were watching this go on.
Yeah.
And that's why the thought of you spending 4 years in prison is just like mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, this could have been resolved a lot faster, and if, I wonder if things had gone, I don't know, like, things could have gone a different way, and they should have gone a different way early on. Like, people make mistakes.
Yeah.
Prosecutors can get the wrong idea, detectives can get the wrong idea, but then the evidence, if they allowed the evidence to guide them, they would have gone, oh, here's all this evidence of a known local burglar who has a history of breaking and entering and of aggression towards women. Maybe, just maybe, he committed this crime by himself. And I think they just felt a huge amount of resistance to admitting that, because they would have had to admit to a lot of abuses, and they didn't want to do that.
That's something I picked up on the show that I really liked, is that there were points of comedy in the voiceover, and some of the score particularly had very cartoonish sounding to it. How involved were you in the entire show process? Because first of all, the fact that Monica Lewinsky is a producer, I was like, this makes complete sense. She went through a similar thing, different side of the spectrum. Mm-hmm. Like, how do you approach that with a sense of humor without doing anything that's like disrespectful to the situation?
Well, I mean, that is in the eye of the beholder. I think that some people think that if you at all attempt to tell a story about, a tragic circumstance and there's anything remotely resembling humor in it, that's disrespectful.
Fair.
Like, that's somebody's opinion. I don't think that is really fair, because I think that the human experience is more complicated than that.
Yeah.
And my experience of this traumatic thing involved a level of like appreciating the absurdity of it.
Yeah.
And also I think one of the things that especially my creator and showrunner KJ Steinberg, like, she had this vision for wanting to show that, like, when these things happen in people's lives, like, you're not expecting the worst experience of your life to happen to you, right? Like, you're just going about your day
in the public,
having a good time, like, yeah, exactly, having the worst experience of your life that everyone forevermore is going to judge you on. Like, you're just not expecting that. And so, like, especially in like the first episode where we're doing, you show like just me and Raphael like having a good time. Like, there's humor in it because we're not expecting the worst thing that is going to happen to us. And I think that's really important. The other thing I think that's important for the humor of it is, it's like, if you have to embrace the absurdity of experience to make sense of it. And I think that anyone who is like, who doesn't accommodate that, again, doesn't appreciate like how you respond, like how people can get over. Talk about moving on and getting over. Like, one of the ways that I am processing my experience is by having a sense of humor about it and being able to like laugh at myself and laugh at the circumstance instead of just feeling utter rage. And like there are different ways of experiencing the same emotion, and I choose to experience it with some level of like, and I think that like having humor in a story is a way of giving grace to like the people involved. Like you either feel rage towards them or you can feel a sense of humor. I feel like I'm missing a piece. Oh, there it is. Never mind. Sorry, I'm like so invested
That's the show
in this.
slogan.
I'm missing a piece.
I think every guest has said that at some point in the episode.
No, it's here. It's here. It's just I'm dumb.
I don't think that's the problem.
I don't know if I'm like being really intelligent right now because I'm so distracted.
I know, but you're crushing it. Yeah, that was something fascinating to me. One last question about the show, and then I want to get into the comedy aspect.
Sure.
There showed obviously, I don't know if they prepared you for it, but when the conviction gets overturned, the show makes it very clear that everybody in the surrounding area was furious, from the people in the courtroom to the people outside. After all this time, do you have Meredith's family? Where do they stand? Do they accept the overturn of the conviction, or are they still?
So, couple of things. One is that both of Meredith's parents have passed.
Oh.
So I never got a chance ever to meet them.
That's unfortunate.
To communicate with them. And I did write to them even when I was in prison. I did attempt to reach out to them through their attorney and through a journalist who I knew that they were in contact with, but I never heard back. And I honestly couldn't tell you if they even received it. Their attorney was always extremely hostile towards me, and I think set them up to also feel hostility towards me. And of course, this is not uncommon for wrongful convictions for the original victim's family to be convinced of the prosecution's story because that's the first story that they're told. And to be fair, like, the Italian justice system didn't really acknowledge my innocence. Like, it did in the sense that, like, it said I didn't commit this crime, but also they said that I might have been present when the crime occurred, which would suggest that I am withholding the truth about what happened from her family. And while there's that lingering doubt, of course they're going to, like, feel complicated feelings towards me, like that makes sense. Ooh, you missed a piece. There you go. So like I don't hold that against them. It is something that's really hard for me though, and I'm trying to figure out how do you talk to someone who thinks that you might like even if there's like the slightest chance that you might have had something to do with the, murder of their sister. Yeah. Like, how do you have that conversation? And I'm I don't have the answer to that question. Yeah. At the same time, it's something that continues to really, really bother me. Because I want them to know that I had nothing to do with Meredith's death, and that I would never, ever, like, withhold any information about it. Like, I've given everything I have and know and more about what could have possibly happened in this case. And I think the really tragic thing is we do know what happened in this case. Like, the evidence ultimately revealed who committed this crime, but no one really paid attention to that or cared about the truth. Like, the guy who committed this crime did end up serving time, but then he got out, and now he's on trial for sexually assaulting another young woman.
That's insane.
And nobody knows that. Like, the number of people who to this day don't know who actually murdered my roommate, and the truth of what happened to her never really got established in the Italian court system. They just, like, left it open to interpretation. They did not provide Meredith's family with closure, and the result of that is that I'm living with
the consequence
Yeah.
of them not taking responsibility for that promise that they, that the Kercher family deserved. And I do know that, like, when we were starting to make this show, their attorney, who has always been hostile towards me, the only thing I've ever heard from, like, Meredith's family has always been actually reasonable. Like, from them, I heard things like, well, we want the people who are responsible for Meredith's murder to be held accountable. We don't want the wrong people to be held accountable. And as far, like, they trust the authorities like anybody would trust the authorities. And
Yeah.
so, like, they're not, experts in law or crime fighting or whatever. So, like, they're having to grapple with a really difficult situation, and they're upset that the truth of what happened to Meredith got lost in the midst of the scandal.
Yeah.
And that's something that, like, when they see that there's a show out that's about my experience, they think, oh no, here's yet another thing that's gonna be talking about Meredith's death, but it's not really going to be establishing the truth about what happened to Meredith, and she's like a secondary character. And it's like, well, no, she's not me, in the sense that, like, this show is about what I experienced, because that's what I know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not Meredith, so I can't tell Meredith's story. But beyond that, it's like, it does seek to establish the truth of what happened to her, and to try to remind people of what we really do know about what happened to her, and that she was a real person, and that her life mattered, and that she wasn't, the person that even was depicted in court. Like, the way that the prosecution depicted her was also deeply dehumanizing. And I try to show who Meredith was, the person that I got to know in that short amount of time that I got to know her in Italy. And I don't know if they're ever going to watch the series. I really hope they do. But all I can do is try to get the truth and of what I experienced and out there, and hope that it does some good.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of, to my point before, control the controllable. It's out of your control. You've made the contact that you wanted to. You've tried to contact them, and at this point, it's the ball's in their court. And I do think over time that might change. It's just it's been.
I hope so too. Like, I think a lot of people, one thing that people get fixated on is, if it's not happening now, it's not going to happen ever.
Nah.
And that's not, like, patience really is a virtue.
Yeah.
And you got to let people process things in their own time. And, I don't know, one way that that's something I think about with my prosecutor. Is he ever going to figure out that he did this bad thing and come to terms with it and do the right thing about it? I don't know. But the possibility that could be possible, especially if, like, it means planting seeds and putting myself out there to help him with that, like, maybe that's worth it.
Well, the question is more, it's hard for me to believe he doesn't know that by now. It's more about, is he going to do the right thing? I think by now there's been enough to show that he did the wrong thing.
I mean, tell him that.
That's the thing. It's a matter of, like, is he going to ever just accept that and deliver the closure that you deserve at this point?
And especially the closure that Meredith's family deserves.
So getting back to the comedy aspect of the show, I am now seeing, so comedy, I was a little surprised that it had the humor it had, which was really great. I was more surprised to start seeing you on stand-up lineups, because we met really briefly a few years ago. I was running production at the Comedy Store, and we were doing Whitney Cummings' roast for OnlyFans, and we had a surprise roaster, and it was Amanda Knox.
Yeah.
And first of all, how was that experience? Because that was your first time doing stand-up.
Yeah, that was my first ever time doing stand-up. It's not fair, honestly. I'm sure a lot of comedians hate me for No, they don't. No, actually, I've been surprised to discover how surprising that comedians are so wonderful. But no, like, I've found that, like, I've received a lot of love and support from comedians, because, again, they can embrace the absurdity of life. And I think it's also true that, like, a lot of comedians are working through their own stuff and doing so through comedy, and they appreciate that. Like, if it's anyone's fault that I'm doing, if you want to blame anyone for me doing stand-up, blame Whitney Cummings, because she's the first person who was like, girl, you're really funny, and the way that you're able to like process this horrible thing that happened to you with comedy is really inspiring, and I think you should do it. And here's this opportunity, roast me at the Comedy Store. And that was, I mean, I love her for that, because like, just another example of women supporting women. Talk about that. Like, the female comedians who have embraced and supported me is wonderful. I was just on Nikki Glaser when she was in Seattle. She sent me a really nice message on Instagram, and I said that I wanted to see her show, and I asked if I could do some bits, and she was like, absolutely.
That's amazing.
And it was so fun, and she was really supportive and kind about it afterward. Like, she said, you really got a good talent for this. I think you should continue doing it, and yeah. That means a lot to me.
I mean, you could tell Whitney wanted you to succeed because she kept you off the dais. She's like, I'm not going to have her on her first time just take a beating from everybody.
No, she was very protective, and she really wanted me to succeed and have a good experience, and I just love her for that. Like, she didn't have to do that.
Yeah. So how are you, when it comes to material, are you talking about your situation? Are you trying to talk more about adjusting to real life?
Well, I write about what I know, and part of what I know is this horrendous experience, and so I do talk about it, but I don't find it actually very difficult, because I just joke about what I went through. I don't joke about murder. Like, I would never joke about my friend's murder.
Yeah.
I joke about being accused of murder. I joke about being in prison for a long period of time. I joke about, not getting to live my 20s, and not having any privacy. All of these things are up for grabs for me, and I do so that I can talk about it in a surprisingly relatable way. Like, again, it's all about humanizing the experience and rendering something that was considered so extreme and unimaginable to other people as suddenly, oh wait, I can actually relate to that. That is really an important thing for me, is showing that people who are at the center of true crime stories are real people. They are relatable people, and that they're not just limited to your experience of them, right? Like, I am not just the girl accused of murder that you heard about, I'm a real person. I have perspectives about things, and they're hard-earned truths that I know about the world that I can share with you, but also I can joke about being a mom. I can joke about trying to fit into my jeans again. Those are all true too. And what I like about that is it shows that we are more than just the thing that other people try to define us as. It's really pushing back against the idea that other people get to determine what my story is and what the trajectory of my life is. So I don't know. I'm a pretty rebellious person in that way. I don't like people telling. I wonder why. I don't like when people tell me who I am and what I am capable of. I am always proving otherwise, maybe to a fault.
Well, I have to come see you do a set next time you're doing one in LA.
Yeah, I would love to. I haven't come to LA to do it since I mostly just do it locally, but I am going to be in Nashville doing a comedy thing later this month.
Is comedy exciting you? Are you excited to take this on? Is that is this a new thing? Is this going to be? Are we getting a Netflix special? Are you going to take this?
I mean, if I'm good enough, that would be awesome. But I really enjoy it because, again, I feel like I need more pieces.
We're about to wrap up, so I think.
Oh my gosh! Okay, well, I love comedy because, again, it allows me the opportunity to think about these really tragic experiences in different terms. And I do think that, in a way, having jokes about them gives people permission to empathize, something that they otherwise wouldn't empathize with. Like, people like to say things like, oh, I could never, I'm so sorry for what you went through. I can never imagine what that's like. And I really want to encourage people to imagine what it's like.
Yeah.
And it's okay to imagine what it's like. Like, you're not a bad person for doing it. In fact, I encourage all of us to be putting ourselves in each other's shoes and have a sense of humor about it. Like, we're all human. We're trying our best. And people get hurt. Like, it's true. People get hurt and we make mistakes.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to show that nobody's perfect, especially not me, but that we're all trying our best and we're all in evolution. We're not just, frozen in amber in the worst experiences of our lives.
I think that is the best message to end on. Let's see how far you got. You're the first person to finish both bags that were put out for you. I will tell you that. There was a smaller set a few years ago I did with a comic that finished her full set, but this is so impressive.
I love this. I didn't have to deal with stickers, so maybe that's why.
I haven't hit stickers yet. I'm pretty excited to have not hit stickers yet, but I'm actually amazed that you got this far. So good for you.
I love it. It's so great.
I did the Pixar lamp because Disney needs some more money, and you can stream her new series on Hulu. Disney money, more Disney money. Tell people where they can find you, where they can find your show, your podcast.
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Mama Knox, on Blue Sky, and on Twitter at Amanda Knox, or I'm on Substack. And you can find everything and all of this at amandaknox.com. Please watch The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox on Hulu and Disney+. It's so good. And also, I have a podcast called Hard Knocks if you want to hear more of my voice.
I can tell you right now, I only watch 2 shows right now, Peacemaker and The Twisted Tale of Amanda Knox. I just finished it last week, and it is really so good. I could not recommend it more, especially if you kind of gave up following the story. I really would tell you to watch this and really.
You think you know, but you do not know.
I followed it closely. I thought I knew. I did not know about the 2022 meeting, and that kind of blew my mind. And that's, as much as I hate subtitles because TV became background noise at some point for me.
Well, sure, everyone's like on their phone.
Yeah,
No, this
you have to watch
yeah.
it. It's the first time I've done that in a while.
I think that's good. I think we should
really
be
good.
invested in the art that is made. And the 2020 story was fundamental, to the actual show. Like, this isn't just a story about a tragic thing that happened to a young person. It's what we do about it. And I think we need models for what do we do. The now what question really means a lot, especially today.
No, it was so good, and I'm so glad that you decided to do it in a scripted format, because I think people get caught up in all the documentaries, and it's like, which ones are actually approved by Amanda?
I know.
It
and
becomes
not to
a
say
lot.
that you have to only watch ones that are approved by me, but
No, but if you're not in one, we're like, okay, this is obviously going to be skewed a certain way where I really like her input on what's being said. So I've seen the documentaries.
Thanks for that. Not everyone feels that way.
No, it's great. The show's great. So I appreciate you being here and building some Lego with me.
This was such a treat for me.
Now you have to take it home and finish it.
Look at little me. I'm holding a pizza.
Yeah, there were so many other things I was going to put in there. I was like, it's a small space. You can follow me at Say It Ain't Sosis. You can follow the show at Building Friendship Series. Jody Sweeten and I have a Lego Ideas full house set up for vote. You can do that at tinyurl.com/Lego Ideas. It's pretty solid for Lego.
Yeah, I
was impressed. It's not easy to do.
Let's pressure test this baby.
Yeah. Your kids are not eating this.
That's great.
This is a little bit big. And we'll be back for another episode soon. Thanks, Amanda.
Yeah, thank you.